Yo, what is good? Sixer Nation, welcome on in to our first live edition of the 2024 offseason. As the Sixers season ended a few days ago, but there's a lot to talk about. Biggest offseason ever. And today we get to hear from the man in charge, Daryl Morey. Will we get answers? What will be the next steps for this Sixers team? What strategy will they take? Do they go with a big star? Do they build out with role players? We'll talk about all of it today, and hopefully we'll get an idea as to what the Sixers will do right here on Philly Take with RB. Don't go anywhere, man. We have you covered all off season long. A lot of good content on the way. A lot of interesting things coming up. I'm excited, man. Shout out to everybody in there. Thank you guys for tapping in, being a part of the show all season long. And we know it was a disappointing finish, but once again, we're back already. And dropped the video on a Friday, the day after Game 6. Talked about some potential free agents, and then took a couple days to kind of let it settle, let it relax. But here we are, Monday afternoon, lunchtime, baby. Welcome on in. This is going to be, like I said, the craziest offseason. You got, what, 2 players in your roster? The rest is free game, flexibility to build out. So hopefully we get some answers from Daryl Morey, and we will hear from him very shortly via the Sixers. So we'll keep refreshing here. See if we can get the live press conference feed. But ladies and gentlemen, how are we feeling, man? Welcome on in. We got 140 people in here during the lunchtime. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. I need everybody to hit that thumbs up so we can push this show around. Not our normally scheduled time, but look, we're dropping videos. We're going live at any given time, so be ready. Always have those notifications on. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see what happens. Obviously, another Sixers disappointment, but it's settled in. We may even do some other playoff live streams just to keep the fun going. We may do a stream tonight for the Knicks-Pacers game. We'll see how that goes. But hope everybody had a good weekend and is doing well. And shouts out to all our members who constantly support our channel. And, of course, shout out to our great sponsor, BetUS. This one is brought to you by BetUS. Use our link down in the description. We'll throw it in the chat as well. Get a 125% deposit match bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,500 using BetUS. The best out there doing it. 24/7 service, 24-hour payouts. And we'll look at some odds a little later on. But let's see if we can pull up this live feed. Let's see where we got it. Let's see if it's on YouTube or not. They got it cooking or not. We'll talk about some NBA playoff stuff. We'll talk about what you guys and gals think should be the direction of this team. Let me know all your thoughts in the chat. We got free agency coming up, draft. We'll cover it all, man. Let's go to the YouTube page for the Sixers. Let's see if they got it on here. Sixers YouTube page. They said it was going to be on Twitter and Facebook, but let's see if it's on YouTube or not. Don't see it. If you guys know where it's at, let me know. We'll shout some people out in the chat. Lexi in here. What's up, Lexi? Maidenless. What's up, says no to Paul George. Reekin Havoc says, is the Sixers franchise the worst team ever at surrounding stars with good players? Interesting point right there. I got a lot to say about that one, but I don't want to give away too much just yet. But, you know, like I said before, actually, here we go. We'll hold those thoughts. Daryl Morey, end of season presser.
We think
let's do it.
The sky's the limit for him as he continues to improve. Joel.
Can you guys hear that or no?
It's incredible for us. A warrior for us.
Oh, wait, it's on NBC Sports Philly?
So we're excited about
Hold on.
who we're building around. Got to tip your cap to the Knicks. You know, they fought hard. I mean, it was an incredible series. And
trying to get a louder
really
feed, guys. Give me a second.
That to back to Madison Square Garden, because I think that was a fun fight the whole way.
All right, we got it on YouTube.
This offseason's a big one.
Got it on YouTube. Hold up.
I owe it to the fans, to owners.
Here we go. Here we go.
Again, we're
Can you guys hear this?
Very well situated to use all the tools, trade, free agency, draft, to upgrade the team, and we're gonna put every single effort into that. Coach Nurse is going to be right there with us.
Drop a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear this.
Players, we think we have one of the best coaches in the league, and
Let's run it back. Let's run it back a little bit.
Obviously, we didn't meet our goals this year. That said, I think you guys came in. This place is buzzing. Everyone's in, excited to attack this offseason. A big offseason for us. We're excited. We obviously have two great studs to build around in Joel and Tyrese. Tyrese took a big leap forward this year, and we think the sky's the limit for him as he continues to improve. Joel was incredible for us, a warrior for us to the end. So we're excited about who we're building around. Got to tip your cap to the Knicks. They fought hard. I mean, it was an incredible series, and really wish we could have gotten that to back to Madison Square Garden, because I think that was a fun fight the whole way. This offseason's a big one. I owe it to the fans, to ownership, to everybody, to get this team in a place where we're competing for championships, and we obviously didn't achieve that this year. Again, we're very well situated to use all the tools, trade, free agency, draft, to upgrade the team, and we're gonna put every single effort into that. Coach Nurse is going to be right there with us. Besides our two great players, we think we have one of the best coaches in the league, and we're excited for the offseason.
Everyone, raise your hand for questions, please. We'll start with Gina.
No mics.
No mics.
Okay.
I'll repeat the question then.
Yeah, all good. Just Daryl, the way the season went, how do you sort of balance, obviously building around Joel, but then also having a team that can win without him, just given that if he does suffer an injury or something like that, just how to play without him on the floor?
Yeah, I thought we really challenged Coach Nurse this year.
No telling, Daryl.
Joel was tough. I feel like I could have done a better job with the players so that we were.
You could have got a center.
In a better spot to win without him.
You could have got a center.
That said, we do spend 90% of the time figuring out how to win the title with him. It can't be a big focus how we play without him. We know that team can't win a championship. It's really just how do we manage through it better. I felt like on me the depth wasn't quite there when he was out to win at the level we wanted to win at. I do think it was good for Tyrese and his development that he had to carry a huge burden during that period. But it's, we spend most of our time on how to win when Joel is here. I think that's the right thing, but we'd like to be better in those situations as well.
David Murphy?
What's your take on this year's draft, and you think they're
Daryl, you should have gotten us a backup 5, man.
Immediate help probably never comes in the draft. In fact, there's really only like something less than 10 but greater than 5 players, picked in the range we're picking in that are good in the first year. That said, we don't really focus on the draft for help now. I do really love 16. I like the storylines have been that the draft is worse. I don't see that at all. Actually, I'm very excited about who's at 16. That said, like we as you might expect, we have all options on the table. Trade, into the future, so we keep more picks available for future trades. If we do pick, I'm excited about who's there. We could trade back, pick up a player. I do like having a good core of young players. I feel like we're developing that with Paul and and Ricky Council, hopefully either the 16th pick or whatever pick we end up with in the draft. I do think you want to have a few young players who are pushing your vets, but we're mostly going to be a veteran-laden team. After an offseason where there's going to be a lot of change, just except for Nick Nurse, Joel, and Tyrese, and Paul and Ricky. We don't know for sure who's going to be back next year. So
Let's go to Austin and Kai.
You've been on the record saying that you'll bet on high-level star talent. When you're thinking about the options out there and guys that are maybe older talents, how much does your belief in Tyrese sort of influence your willingness to take the bet on older guys versus guys that are 20?
obviously you have to factor in age, but we mostly are we feel like we're in the window where we have to win now. We're mostly focused on getting the best players that fit with Joel and Tyrese. I think
who is that?
the
Who?
storylines around how do you win in this league. I mean,
That's what we're here for, Daryl.
For a good thing, I've been around quite a bit. I know there was a time when jump shooting teams couldn't win. Recently, you couldn't have bigs and win. Now the story is you have to have bigs to win. The reality is, like, you need very good players. You need better players than your opponents, and there isn't really a formula. To get to your specific question, I think as long as players are playing at a high
Daryl Morey, quote of the day: "You need better players than your opposition to win." 2024.
level, we're focused on Joel and Tyrese, and we're focused on now. So you have to factor in age, because I have to look at more than just one season. But the reality is, like, similar to, we put most of our focus on the team when Joel is available. We put most of our focus on the now versus the future with where Joel is in his prime.
Look, I guess just to kind of follow up on that, I think you were asked this at the trade deadline about like whether Tyrese's start on kind of plays into any of your like kind of decisions heading into the offseason. Now that you've been able to see what you've been able to do, I guess on a big playoff stage, I guess, does that kind of factor into maybe instead of going after a max guy, maybe going after a guy that maybe fits?
Thank you, Kai Carlin.
We definitely are looking at fit. I think one of the things that we're excited about is Tyrese. You know, a year ago, it wasn't, if we had polled everyone in the media or all the GMs, it wouldn't have been unanimous that Tyrese could take that step forward that we hoped he could, with James leaving and giving him a lot more responsibility. So we definitely look at fit. We're not really focused necessarily on the exact, bucket, whether it's max or role player or whatever. We're focused on getting the best players within the CBA constraints, which is basically like, you only get so many, you only have so much money. Generally, historically, having top players works better. I know recently, again, just to talk about storylines, everyone's like, oh, it's the teams with depth that win. Well, of course, you go back a little bit and you have, recent teams that won without much depth, like the Lakers recently. You have teams without continuity that have won recently. So we're not going to have continuity. So we hopefully will have continuity going forward a little better. We'll have continuity with our stars and our head coach. But we're going to have a lot of changes offseason. So it's good that, recent teams like the Lakers, like Toronto, like the Milwaukee Bucks, who made big changes the year they won the title. They didn't have a ton of continuity those years. So long story short, there isn't like a formula. Everyone wants to find a pattern, and there isn't one. The pattern is have really good players and have them better than all the teams you're going to play. And we're not going in with a prescription or a prescription of what to do. So
Ethan and Marcus.
I know you don't have a lot of guys coming back, but what would you say the biggest need that to fit in next to Joel and Maxey are?
I would say the biggest need is, not at their position, someone at the wing who can play and deliver at a high level in the playoffs. That's the yeah.
Eat that, Tobias. He said you stink. He said you stink, Tobias.
And it just seems like you guys are, second round exit. What gives you the confidence that you can turn this thing around?
I think, Joel, Tyrese, and Nick give me the confidence that we have a good shot. Look, most of the paths you go down in the NBA lead to a dead end because, they're only letting one team win. and 29 teams are having this press conference every year. I think we put ourselves in a good position most years to win, and I just got to keep working hard to put us in an even better position. And we have an opportunity to do that this offseason.
Marcus, then Dan.
So I just want to stop for 1 second. I won't pause too much. He literally just came at Tobias Harris. They said, what is the biggest need with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey? The best fit, right? Because Daryl said, we're going for fit only. And he said, we need a wing that can play at a high level in the playoffs. Maybe he was dissing Kelly. Maybe he was dissing Tobias. Maybe he was dissing Buddy Hield. I don't know. Obviously, he's not getting too much into these answers, but they're firing away. The media's stepping it up right now. Daryl, just give us some hope, man. Just give us some hope. Tell us. I mean, he keeps saying there's going to be a lot of change. We know that. But, are we going to splurge on Paul George? Or are we going for 3 high-level role players? And I disagree with what he said about the formula, right? The Nuggets showed us the formula. It's right there. And we have the building blocks to do something like that.
Daryl, you've been here, I think, 4 years. You're going to be here another 4, according to your contract. You're halfway through what we expect to be your tenure. How would you grade what you've done so far? And do you think the franchise is in a better spot now than it was when you took it over?
Yeah, I don't think my job is to grade myself, so I'll leave that to you guys. But I would say, look, I'm disappointed. I'd rather, obviously, we should have gone farther, and all I can do is, come back in, get with our front office and our coaching staff, and work with our great players on what's next, and give ourselves the best chance to win next year. So.
Do you think that you're further along? Do you think the franchise is in better shape now than it was 4 years ago?
I think that's to be written. Like we have a lot of tools this offseason, more than most teams in our situation, with more draft picks, more cap space, and 2 great players. But that story's yet to be written. We'll have to see how the offseason goes and then how we play. As you know, I tend to not be someone who says, let's make sure the roster is perfect on day one. I like building the roster over time, even throughout the season. You look at Toronto adding Marcus All, things like that. I think it's something that we'll know next season. Like, was there enough? So.
Dan, Kyle, and Lauren. Given his, injury history, do you have any concerns about Joe playing in the Olympics? Is he a very transfer organization? Ask him not to.
Sure. I mean, the way the NBA has it set up, it's not even like a decision for the team. The players, that's it's something. I know for Joel, it's I was lucky enough to be at his celebration when we became a U.S. citizen. He's incredibly proud to be a U.S. citizen. It's a dream of his to represent the United States in the Olympics. I think it's important to support the dreams of your best player. I understand the questions. I understand, that there are folks who could have an opinion on the other side on that. But first off, it's not even in our hands. Second off, we would always support Joel and something that important to him. And I think it's really cool that he thinks that's one of the dreams he's had since he became a citizen.
Just as a follow-up to that, when you talked about at the end of the year, you talked about being depressed because of his injuries. You talked about how beat up he was, how mentally draining it was on him. I mean, how do you guys sense he was at the end of the year? Is there anything you guys have to do to kind of prop him back up, I guess?
Bro.
I think he was where anyone who went through what he went through and fought so hard in that series against the Knicks.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, what kind of questions is this guy asking?
I think.
Why did the Sixers fail in the playoffs? How about that? That's a starter.
Get that from anyone who put everything into it, and he did. So, yeah. I mean, I think.
Are you going to re-sign Tobias Harris?
Expected after losing the series where
he won't ask him that. Imagine if he did.
Lauren and Josh.
Daryl, last offseason, without really getting into James thing,
New back.
it seemed like the vibe was about money and maybe where James is at on the aging curve. If you guys go out this offseason and your big move is $50 million to a 34 or 35-year-old player, do you think it's fair for people to say, well, maybe you should have just re-signed James? for whatever he was asking for at the time, and not taken this year where it's just kind of a stasis year?
It's hard not to relitigate it because you included it in the question. So I don't really accept the premise of the question. People are going to disagree. We never got to the point where we could even discuss contract with him. And I know people are saying this and that and everything, but that is literally a fact that we wanted to have those discussions with him and never did. So I guess I would not accept the premise. Definitely not against older play. If they can play basketball and they can fit with Joel and Tyrese, then we want them here. So.
Okay, but separate question. Do you think Joel needs to change anything about whether it's how he plays, his physical makeup? Like a lot of people have pointed to someone like Tim Duncan who slowed down some knee issues that he had by slimming down and playing at a lighter weight. Have you guys had any discussions with him?
Good question.
That? Do you think that's something that he needs to do in order to be as healthy as he can be moving forward?
I mean, every year we sit down. When I say we, it's myself, the head coach, our medical staff, and work with Joel on, hey, let's put a plan together. And luckily, we don't need to do much because Joel cares about this, as you might expect, it's his life more than anybody. And we have not done that yet, but for sure we're going to sit down and have a plan with Joel and figure out what's best. He's already sent me a few thoughts on things, but it's premature. Like we haven't had the official sort of sit down and like let's put that plan together. But
nice little Euro step around that question.
Everything like how can he make sure he's at his maximal abilities? Once the playoff rolls around.
Lauren, Josh, then Derek.
You talked about Tyrese taking the next step this year, whether it was off court or on court. In what sort of finite ways did he exceed the expectations that maybe not you, but others had? In what areas were you most impressed?
I mean, I think he probably exceeded mine, which I'm going to in
500 people in the chat. Hit the thumbs up, man. Welcome on in, everybody.
Hard, and for
Get us to 100 likes, man.
Not a given that he would have done it, but I guess we should all learn not to bet against Tyrese, given he's beat expectations every single season, both prior to coming here and then here. Look, you become the primary guy on the scouting report. That's a huge adjustment. Blitzes, you're the first guy on the film and maybe sometimes the only guy on the film, especially when Joel was out, how to stop this that he does, how to stop that, how to guard the step back, how to guard the speed.
Somebody has to ask this guy about Tobias, man. Somebody's got to do it.
A couple games, especially early when Joel was out, I thought it was quite challenging for him.
Somebody has to ask him, man.
To his credit, working with our coaching staff and watching a ton of video and then just getting used to how people were going to guard him, he really took that step forward. But that was, Tyrese gets all the credit. That was not a given that he could do all that, and it's very exciting that he did. So.
Your reunion with Coach Nurse, how did year one look in this partnership?
Well, I think he took it just as hard as our fans, and
they need to put RB in this room, man.
Nurses, he comes in every day, no matter who was available, and sometimes we didn't have Joel, Tyrese, Tobias. Like we often had like 4 guys out some of these games. And he never was like, oh man, he was like, just tell me who's available. I'll go win this game. We'll have a good game plan. We're going to win this game. And obviously sometimes the reality of some of the teams we played smacked him in the face, but it didn't stop him from believing he was going to win the next game. But I was very impressed. Yeah. Sometimes I'd be like, man, all these guys are out and we're playing one of the top players in the league. Like, that's going to be tough to win, but he always believed going into the game, which is why after the game I felt like he was always emotionally just completely wrecked. So, yeah. So.
Josh, then Derek.
Daryl, you brought up Ricky earlier. Him and Jeff were 2 guys that got converted to standard NBA deals this year. How much impact do you typically expect from guys like that on a team that's contending for the championship?
Well, Jeff, to his credit, he's already contributed to some pretty good teams in Toronto prior to being here. So I think Jeff's a little farther along. With Ricky, the way these normally go, and we spoke to Ricky about this on his exit meeting, is your first year you almost have no chance. I mean, especially if you're undrafted. You have to prove yourself in the G League, which he did. The second year you have to really focus a lot on what you need to improve, and if you do that, you then need to give the coach a reason to play you, because you're probably not going to play a whole lot even in your second year. But
What?
I think Ricky's the defense. And so I think as long as his defense is at a high level, that when we take an injury or something next year and Nick is facing a really tough wing that maybe we're struggling to guard, he might go, you know what, I'm going to give Ricky a shot. Or it's multiple injuries like he had this year where he'll get a chance to play. And then I think sometimes you grab that job and you never let go. So that's how it can happen in year 2. Usually it's a little more into year 3, though, usually, just given where he was drafted and things like that. So.
With the changes in the latest CBA, is it still viable to build around 3 max or near max players?
Thank you, Bodner.
Yeah, again, I would reframe it as compared to what. And look, in those situations, I like having the challenge. Like, to me, finding the guys who are overlooked, the Kelly Oubres of the world, getting a Kyle Lowry, getting players like that. I like that challenge. I think that's something that the front office is very good at. And so I think, yeah, compared to you're like have less good players but more role players, I think generally the history of the NBA would favor, even with the new CBA, get studs who then you can put the work and the onus on the front office to find the players that fit around it.
Let's go Paul, Sam, and Gina.
Barry, you mentioned Kelly. It seemed like he was a really good fit just overall, just his ability to cut and he really fit the Knicks system and kind of maybe took a step forward in his career. He also seemed to indicate that he would like to be back. Is he a guy that you would have interest in if the kind of price and the stars align?
We have interest pretty much all our free agents. It's just like we're definitely not getting them all back. It's just the reality of the league. Kelly was one that he was just such a breath of fresh air. Played so hard. Won over the city, which isn't easy. Gave us really, really key minutes in the regular season, the playoffs. So yeah, he's definitely someone that we have interest in. Yep.
Sam, Gina, then Noah.
Yeah, after seeing how his tenure with the Sixers came to a close, do you still believe that Tobias can be a prominent contributor on the championship contender you hope to be, and do you think there's a chance that he's back?
Tobias for sure can be a contributing player on a contender. In terms of back,
Stream's over.
Again, so I give the same answer I just gave. We have interest in all our free agents. It sort of goes with Derek's question, in that you're always trying to fit in as many good solid players as you can, given the CBA bucket that we're given. And it's really not, does this player help? It's, does this player help within the context of the CBA and what, at whatever number they're at, what constraints that creates for other positions you might want to help.
Gina, Noah, then Zach.
You may have
Bro.
answered this with saying that Tyrese.
Come on now.
exceeded your
You're wasting our time, Daryl.
over the course of the year sort of alter, okay, this actually maybe shifts my thinking a little bit as far as how we'll approach the offseason?
Yeah, I think it wasn't clear that Tyrese, we all had very high hopes, and I think you'd have put pretty good odds on it. We did. That Tyrese could be, the second best player on a championship team. I think we absolutely believe that now. That belief went from high to, I think we're certain at this point that he can do that. Still a long way to go, but the fact that that's the case, that means the job becomes, to some of these questions, like how do you find the rest of the roster to fit around that, and to Kyle's question, how do you get Joel at his maximal going into the playoffs. So
I guess to follow up on that too, it's I know having the optionality and the flexibility that you have, you would much rather have that than not have it, obviously. But just how do you sort of in your own mind go, okay, no, this is know when to pounce? I guess,
Sure.
Because like you said, this is kind of
the
Not
dating
make or break, but
the dating question
Right.
when you settle down. Yeah, no, I think that's basically like by keeping just very focused on what gives us the best chance to win and which things move the needle and which ones don't. And I think that there is a chance that all the balls go up and they all land. Then everyone will be mad, and that's fine. But what we definitely can't do in that situation is actually hurt ourselves to make sure we can still build a contender. The main mistake that could be made that we won't make is if some of the better options first don't go our way, trade into our cap space, free agents, turn our draft picks into things. If all those things don't yield what we want, we are definitely not going to just sign for a lot of money some player who's just a okay player. Like, that's not happening, because that will be where we can't continue to build a contender around Joel and Tyrese. So in those scenarios, we'll be doing shorter deals and then using our draft picks to set ourselves up for trade or set ourselves up for the next opportunity when it comes. But we can't. We want to open all the doors to make ourselves a contender, but we can't close all the future doors unless we think the move we are doing can be the best team in the East at least. So.
Noah, Zach, and Dave.
Buddy Hield was a significant deadline pick. We talked about believing he fit nicely next to Joel and Tyrese. Obviously, he got pretty limited time next to Joel, but what you make of his time here and the idea of him as potentially a future piece.
Yeah, I think at no fault to Buddy's, I think the fit was less good than I thought. He got, obviously most of his time was without Joel, but I thought when Joel was back that his impact and his shooting, that he'd get more open shots. He didn't.
You thought, huh?
And so that's on me that it didn't work out as well as we hoped. I still think it was one of the better acquisitions. I was really happy he showed what he could do in Game 6, and based on how they're guarding us, what he can do. But for sure, I mean, there was no one more disappointed than him that he fell out of the rotation because I think Nick correctly saw, based on how they're guarding us, that it was hard for him to impact the game. And then when they changed up how they're guarding us, he did show what he can do. So, but yeah, I think Kyle Lowry and Campaign, both of them really added to the team, and I think so they were able to add at a high level. And then Buddy it didn't quite work as well as we'd hoped, but I do think going forward it still could work, depending on the other players that are around Joel and Tyrese.
Zach, Dave, and Kyle.
Joel spoke after Game 6 and was asked about the optionality that the team effectively has, and kind of turned it over to you and us in the front office. Is more your role than his? Even still within feeling that way, is there a level of desire on your end to have his input on whether it's specific personnel or archetypes of players that the team's looking to add?
Yeah, all else equal, you definitely want Tyrese and Joel to feel good and comfortable about the players you're adding. They're so good, they can make any player work well or not work well. So I've always had a history of working with our top players, and obviously the coaching staff to make sure that everyone feels good about those acquisitions. There are some times where, basically, either the head coach or the front office or one of your better players, it's never unanimous. Like, there are times when it's like, okay, two of those three feel good about how a player can help. You still often do it, and then over time they either prove that it's better than you think or worse than you think. And there have been times when, I've thought someone wouldn't work as well and they work better. There have been times when, Joel felt like, okay, I'm not sure about this, but then got very excited about that player. So you just have to have a lot of faith. The good thing is there's a lot of trust between all the key components, where you can take bets on players and feel generally good about how everyone's viewing it.
That's to Dave and Kyle.
Like Kyle said, the top of this year's free agent market is a bit long in the tooth, I guess you could say. The track record of teams that are counting on mid-30-year-old players to be superstars in the playoffs has not been great in recent years.
Yeah, like this year. Yeah.
Right.
But like you can go back 1 year or 2 years.
Well, I mean, we saw with James in the play. I mean, obviously age matters, and you're signing a guy that's,
I mean, Miami was built around Jimmy Butler, who made either the conference finals or finals like 4 times, 5 times. I can't remember. So
it's not a factor in your. It's not a factor in your mind.
It's for sure. You have to factor in everything, including age. My point is that we can't use the fact that a lot of those key players were out in one season and now say this is some new thing. In fact, if anything, the direction of the arrow on age has been that it's less of an impact than it has been in the past. So look, that's what I mean by you can't prescribe or proscribe anything and say, oh, we've now figured it out. I'm being 100% serious. You guys have been around for quite a while too. Most of the reporters in this room, it was 100% being written that you, for a while, that like, oh, bigs don't need big. You need like lots of switchable wings and you're going to be fine. And now that's gone. So my point is like, it's never about that. It's always about get the best players you can, get a great coach, figure out how to win with that set of players, and then go win the damn thing. It's not about like, hey, this new thing is exactly how everything. We do know you want to be able to shoot more. I think we've learned that. That one's a long trend going for a long time. But other than that, I don't see many rules that tell you like how to build a contender.
But I guess what I'm asking
Yeah.
more is, you get good players.
Yeah.
But a player who's good in October.
Yeah.
He's 6 months older and. And 6 months more wear and tear on his
Yeah.
How do you balance that in terms of like, hey, this is a great team that right now we know will be good. We need to build for the postseason, especially when we have a guy like Joel.
Yeah. No, it's fair. Like you want to figure out how to manage into the playoffs, right? But just again, because it's never about like, can this win? It's like, what is the best chance to win? The alternative to that would be a worse team that's always healthy. And I'll take the better team that you have to manage your way into the playoffs than the worst team that's always available. I'll take that 10 out of 10.
Last one, Con.
Daryl, I guess what was your thoughts on the 65 game rule over this year?
I have a headache, ladies and gentlemen. I have a headache right now. I'm not even joking. This is crazy.
I understand why the league office did it. I would put all, and this is easy for me to say, but I would try as the league office to put all the focus on how do we make the regular season more important, so you don't have to create these sort of kludgy 65s better than 64. But so again, it's easy to say when you're at a distance, but I've been pretty vocal, like just do everything you can to make the regular season more meaningful, more. The top 2 teams get a bye. The next, and the league. The good thing about the NBA, we innovate more than any other league. I think we'll get there. And this was sort of a kludge they had to do to try and like create this dynamic. But it's definitely a kludge. We just need to make the regular season more and more important over time.
Thank you, Daryl.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Man, oh man. I've been waiting. I've been sitting here like, yo, can you hold your tongue any longer? Now, again, I'm not going to put so much crazy stock into one exit press conference, but man, it just feels like every time we have one of these, there's just no direction. It's just all over the place. I get it. You're a GM, you're a president. You don't want to, reveal all your tricks, right? You don't want to give all your plans away. It's not what we're here for, but some of the things that were said in this press conference, I'm like, yo, what? I was tweeting during the entire thing, so I didn't forget my thoughts because I wasn't writing notes or anything. I was just tweeting these things out that I wanted to talk about with you guys. We got 660 people in here. Do me a favor. Drop a like on the show. We're here 1:30 p.m. on a Monday. Daryl Morey just had his exit presser. What are your thoughts on that overall? Like your confidence level on a scale from 1 to 10 right now after hearing what Daryl Morey just had to say. I mean, that was kind of brutal, to be honest. I want to go to a couple things that Daryl Morey had to say. And then we'll talk about some free agent targets, the direction that I think this team should go, and really where my head is at as well. But man, oh man, that was crazy. That was crazy. All right. We will talk about it all. Give me your confidence level in the chat right now. Like I said, this is just our first off-season show. So we will be doing a lot of this coverage. We'll be doing videos, live shows, and all that. And we have a lot to talk about. I mean, the one thing Morey said to, kick it off was right. There's going to be a lot of change this off-season. You can't bring everybody back. So, man. Also, $5 super chat. Mr. Roddy Poo, thank you so much, man. Excuse me. He says, RB, back from vacay, at least we have picks and cap space, not letting Joel slide after his dumb silhouette to clown New York. Get real, get glue, guys. So Mr. Roddy Poo still mad at Embiid, did not like the comments after game, what was it, 5 or 6 that he said that? I think it was 5 when he said that. But yeah, man, we will talk about it. Once again, guys, smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new. We got all off season to talk about this team. I'm going to tell you my main thoughts from that press conference, but before we do that, I got to give a shout out to BetUS. BetUS, the best out there doing it. They're the #1 online sports book, and they're currently offering a 125% deposit match on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,500. So if you put in $500, you'd start with $1,250, and they got you covered with all your betting needs. They got 24/7 service and 24-hour payouts, and I'm pulling up the odds for the Knicks-Pacers series. I know there's probably still some salt in the wound. Who do you guys think is going to win that series, though? Pacers or Knicks? Who do you think is going to win, Pacers or Knicks? Give me your thoughts. Let's look at the odds real quick, and then we'll get into the press conference. But let's see. Pacers and Knicks, game 1 tonight. I think the Knicks will eventually win the series. I think they're going to win it. I think I picked them in 6 games. But tonight, I'd say the Knicks probably have the Garden rocking. Obviously, wish it was Philadelphia in that spot. But I think it's going to be New York. So I'm going to take New York on the -5. Pacers have been a little up and down. Once again, you guys can get a 125% bonus using our link. It's coming through in the chat. It's also down in the description. Shout out to BetUS for partnering with us all year long. All right, man, let's talk about Daryl Morey because boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. First thing that he said that really got under my skin. Well, not the first thing he said, but it was the main thing that stuck out to me that really was like, wow. He said, he was asked about Ricky Council, and he said, usually in your first year of playing, you have no chance. So right off the bat, any young guys, undrafted free agents that show some promise, any guys, that maybe play in the G League a little bit or rookies have no chance. That's crazy, Daryl. That's crazy. Is that why Ricky Council didn't play in the playoffs? I mean, you signed him the night before the end of the season, gave him an opportunity to be on the playoff roster. Is that what the conversations are like? That was a Doc Rivers answer. He said, usually in your first year, you have no chance. And then in your second year, you start to make way. And then in your third year, you're good to go. But come on now. We're not here to develop projects. We're here to win. Any guy on the roster, whether he's a rookie or whether he's a 10-year vet, should have the same amount of chance to help this team compete. I did not agree with that at all. Then he was asked about Tobias Harris. I don't know who asked him the question, but finally somebody got under and took the mic and asked the question that we wanted to hear. I just wanted it for entertainment purposes. They said, do you think Tobias Harris can be a part of a championship team? And Daryl Morey, I guess, didn't want to embarrass Tobias. So he didn't say, yeah, like he's going to be a main part of the core. But he was like, yeah, in the right capacity, on the right team, he can be a part of the championship team, which we know was a lie. So, we heard everything we had to hear. We knew he wasn't, at that point, saying anything worthy of us needing to know. And then even before that, earlier, he was asked, what is the Sixers' biggest need? I'll be honest, the media asked some good questions. And he said the biggest need is a, quote, wing who can play at a high level in the playoffs. So, a wing. Guys, is he going for Paul George? Is it over? Is that it? We're getting PG-13 on a max contract and calling it an offseason. I'm going to start to get into what I think this team needs to do. But I can tell you right now, that is not the way to go. For once in our lives, I am not willing to go for the big name star unless there is a circumstance where you could get Paul George on like a 2-year contract, maybe the second year is an option. Or if you could somehow swing Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat and not have to extend him on a max, that is something I would consider, but you would still need flexibility to build out the rest of the team, okay? For once in our lives, especially now with the new CBA, we just saw it with the Phoenix Suns. We've seen it with the Clippers. It does not work. And that was another thing Daryl talked about in, well, we don't have a formula that really works. Yes, we do. It's the Denver Nuggets. And guess what? The Sixers have the building blocks to make it work. They have the superstar center. They have the all-star guard. Now you need to find all the marginal pieces, the Aaron Gordons, who I've literally said that name about 50 times this season. You got to find the KCPs. You got to find the Bruce Browns. There's an absolute formula to how this works now with the new CBA, and it is staring you in the face, and you've never had a better opportunity to make it happen than right now. So, Daryl Morey talked about Kelly Oubre, and I agreed with what he said, and I actually posted on Twitter yesterday. People don't want to believe it because I'm not a beat reporter, and let me tell you right now, I'm not trying to be a beat reporter, okay? But sources close to these people are reaching out to me with information. And I can just assure you that I know Kelly Oubre wants to be back with the Philadelphia 76ers. The question is, what is the price point going to be? And if another lower level team comes in and offers Kelly the money, right, and an offer that maybe he can't refuse, is Daryl Morey willing to up it a little bit and match that price, right? If the Sixers come in and they want to use the mid-level at $8 million and a lower level team comes in and says, we'll give you $13 a year, are the Sixers willing to match that? That's literally what it comes down to. Daryl Morey said that the Sixers have interest in bringing back all their free agents, which is probably not the case, but he's not trying to reveal his cards. But I can tell you for sure, Oubre wants to be back, and he is a perfect fit with this team. Like Daryl said, he won over the city. He's a great energy guy. There's no reason in my mind, unless Kelly gets a wild amount of money, that he should not be back with the Sixers. He has earned a paycheck. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, he disappeared in the playoffs. Yeah, I agree. So did everybody else. I'm not saying Kelly's a perfect player. I'm not saying he's a number 2 option, but he fits the mold, like Daryl said, of what you're trying to do around Maxey and Embiid. So I think Kelly Oubre should be back on the Sixers. But Daryl did say you got to get a wing that can play at a high level in the playoffs. And if you go out and you splurge on one of these stars, and really this is the main reason why I would not do it. If you splurge on a Paul George or, I don't know, a Jimmy Butler, right, and you have to max him out, or you bring KD in, you have to max him out, you're not going to be able to build the depth of the team. And we've seen that time and time again now. Even look in these playoffs right now. All the teams with the big name stars, like, the 3-star teams, they're done. They're cooked. Unless you go out and you build an entire core and you draft all of these guys and you haven't paid them yet, right? Like, look at Boston. Boston's going to have a questionable decision down the line of, well, can we even keep Derek White? Because now they've paid all the guys that they drafted and they're going to give a supermax to Jason Tatum. But the thing is, the Sixers haven't drafted well. So we can't say the same. That's why that number 16 pick is so important. Daryl Morey did take accountability for the Buddy Hield trade as well, said he thought it would be better than it was, and that he wishes Buddy had more time to play with Joel, which I do agree with, but He says there's a possibility it could work going forward. He did not sound too confident, and it pretty much just sounded like a failed experiment, which it was. The last thing that Daryl Morey said that I did not like was at the end. They were asking him about, are you willing to build around a 31-year-old center who's injury prone? And he said that the factor of age has less of an impact than it used to when evaluating which players to bring in, and that it's only about fit. Now, I agree on the fit aspect. You have to get the right puzzle pieces that fit around Embiid and Maxey. That's why I tweeted out yesterday, for once, instead of just going after the big-time name, Daryl Morey, you need to go around the best building block pieces that fit perfectly in the hole next to Embiid and Maxey. But when he said that the factor of age does not matter, that worries me. That makes me feel like he's getting ready to splurge on Paul George and lure him away from the Clippers. And I do not think that is the right move right now, unless you can get PG on a 1-year rental with a 2nd-year option, and then you still have flexibility to maybe make a big-time trade. I want to say one more thing, and I'll read some super chats, and I'll get to the comments. And I want to talk about some of the things I did like that he said. I've been getting a lot of responses over the last day or two, especially on social media, that the reason we need a 3rd star is because when Joel Embiid goes down, we need a guy that can pick up the slack. I'm going to simplify it for you, easy as anything. If Joel Embiid goes down, if X team's best player goes down for extended time, the likely scenario is that you're not going to win the championship. If the Mavs have a season-ending injury for Luka Doncic, if LeBron James goes down for the rest of the year, if Jason Tatum's out the rest of the year, those teams are not winning the championship. So I agree with what Morey said about, you can't really build for Embiid not being on the team. You have to build for the fit with him there. If Embiid goes down again next year for 3 months and the Sixers fall out of playoff contention, do you still need to stay afloat? Yes, but in playoff time, when the lights are shining bright, all your guys need to be on the floor. So I don't agree with, we need a 3rd star, Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan or whoever, because Joel Embiid is going to get injured. I don't agree with that. All right, let's get to some super chats. Shout out to Brandon Gatsky, $2 super chat. Morey has 1 year to get it done, or else fire him. Yeah, Morey signed an extension. I think it was 4 years earlier this season. But I would agree, Brandon, this is now where all the pressure is, right? Pressure makes diamonds. So if you don't get it done this offseason, right? Because now you have full flexibility. And I know people keep telling me, you are crazy, RB, for believing. But it is literally now or never. Daryl Morey has never had an offseason where he hasn't had to keep in the back of his head, 33% of the salary cap is allotted to Tobias Harris. Now, should he have traded Tobias? Absolutely. But he's never had an offseason where he hasn't had to deal with that, or Ben Simmons hogging up a ton of the cap and sitting out and quitting and crying and, the James Harden drama. Every offseason, there has been drama. Now you have a dynamic duo. You have a core that you can build around with Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. If Daryl Morey does not make this team superior, if he doesn't make this team a championship contender by next season, then there needs to be serious questions about this team's future, the leadership, what they need to do. There are no excuses. You have a really good coach in Nick Nurse. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's a budding superstar, and Joel Embiid, who's a superstar. There is no reason that you cannot find the diamonds in the roughs and go out there and make things happen. $5 super chat, Mr. Roddy Poo. He says, Embiid made those comments after getting eliminated. I'm frying his ass on the grill. Number 1 priority, Isaiah Hartenstein to play for Mr. Glass. Keep cooking. Number 1 priority, Isaiah Hartenstein to play for Mr. Glass. Are you saying you want iHeart on this team? I don't know, man. I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could do that. But what I will say, and as much as it pains me to say, Roddy, Sixers need to take a look at the Knicks playbook here. The Sixers need to find a Josh Hart in this free agency. They need to find a Dante DiVincenzo in this free agency. They need to find a Deuce McBride. Now, by the words of Daryl Morey, it seems like Paul Reed is going to be here on this team. I don't know if he was serious or not, but he was talking about Reed in terms of the future of this team. And Reed has a non-guaranteed contract right now. So if the Sixers do guarantee it for the next 2 years, then the Sixers are going to have around $55 million in cap space, which is this number right here. But if they decide to cut B-Ball Paul and waive him, then they would have around 62 to 63 million plus a first round pick. So, yeah, I don't know. It sounded like he was confident that Paul Reed, Ricky Council, Maxey, and Embiid, and maybe Jeff Doughton Jr. would be the only guys on this team. And again, he said that, you know, this team has a lot of hope to bring back the free agents, but he didn't really sound enthused about anybody other than Kelly Oubre Jr. and maybe Nicholas Batum. I would bring Batum back. I would bring Oubre back. I would take a long look at Cameron Payne because I think Cam Payne honestly proved to a lot of us that he's ready for the moment. Is he the most skilled athlete? No. Does he have a good-looking jump shot? No. But you know what Cam Payne does? He goes out there and says, Coach, we're in a time of adversity. Put me in this damn game. I'm going to hit back-to-back threes, and I'm going to fire us up. Sixers have needed guys like that, man. Cam Payne showed me he's a winner. He's a winning type of player. Not saying he can play 15, 20 minutes every single night, but I like Cam Payne. I really do. $5 super chat. Anthony Lewis says we need our biggest weakness, which is a backup big, should go pay Valanciunas or Drummond so we don't die in the bench minutes and get a good wing. Yeah, I think when it comes down to B-Ball Paul, we have realized that there are limitations for what he's able to do as a backup center, right? Because he's only 6'9". And I think that's probably always been a limitation that we maybe overlooked because of his grit and his hustle and his lack of really, shooting ability consistently. I mean, he was starting to shoot better this year and then kind of just went awry. But I would honestly try to experiment with Paul at the 4 if you can get his shooting numbers up. And I agree. A guy like Andre Drummond would be a great fit to end up back in Philly where he's comfortable behind Joel Embiid. They should have got him at the deadline. Daryl Morey said, yeah, I didn't do enough. Yeah, we know, Daryl. You didn't go out and get a big body that this team needed. I mean, the fact that you sat there on your hands while Joel Embiid was down and we knew he was going to be out extended time and the Sixers fell to the number 7 seed. We do realize if Daryl Morey gets a big body at the deadline, this team may be the 5th seed. They may have been playing the Cavs in the first round, not the New York Knicks. And they gave the Knicks all they could. That was like a conference finals type of series feeling. That shouldn't have been a first round series. Even if it wasn't Andre Drummond, it could have been Daniel Gafford. It could have been whoever. They didn't get anybody. And I guess the question is, did they think that the season was done? Did they think that nobody was available? Did they think Mo Bamba was going to be the savior? I don't know, man. $5 super chat, Mr. Roddy Poo. He says, bring whichever 5 the Knicks don't re-sign. Tyus Jones, DJJ, and Obi Toppin. Draft Trishan Da Silva at number 16. Tell you what, Roddy, I've already started watching some draft prospects. I was locked in on March Madness this year, so I got a lot of guys that I have my eye on. They do say this is the weakest draft class, which is just funny. In Sixers fashion, the year that they have a number 16 draft pick, the year that they have 60+ million in cap space, there's a weak free agency class, and it's a weak draft class. But anyway, I think, kind of alluding to what I said a little while ago, the Sixers need to target the specific niches that this team needs. You have all the flexibility in the world. The number one need that nobody talks about as much as they should, is a athletic rebounder who can help defend multiple positions. I actually got to pull up a quote. Now I just thought about it because I actually reposted it on Twitter. Hold up. Michael Malone, the Nuggets coach, who won an NBA championship last season, said this about Aaron Gordon. And I've talked about Aaron Gordon multiple times this year, okay? Here's what he said. If you're going to be a team that can compete at the highest level and compete for a championship, you need a power forward who can guard 1 through 5. I think Aaron's versatility on both ends of the floor is kind of what stands out. Aaron Gordon was a number 4 overall pick, and he finally got humbled and realized, yo, I'm just not that good. But what I can do is I can maximize a certain skill. And he is an absolute dog on the glass. He takes so much pressure off Nikola Jokic, it's not even funny. And I'm not taking anything away from Jokic because he's a damn good player. But how many times have we wanted a power forward that could just take a little bit of the relief from Joel Embiid? Just help him out a little bit. Help him out in the glass. Go out there. Give him 12 boards. Help him defend a little bit. You got Josh Hart, who's 6'4", grabbing 18 rebounds, and our power forward can't grab 9. The Sixers need a 4 that can rebound, that can be all over the place, that can defend multiple positions, and you're hearing it right here from a championship head coach. That is their biggest thing. That's why if we go back to the trade deadline, I made a video, and I'm going to stand on that now because I put out a target list today. The dream target for this team, and I know we're getting deep into this, and I don't want to that much today, but the dream target for this team is Lauri Markkanen. He is the absolute perfect fit based on who's available next to Joel Embiid. The guy can rebound. The guy can shoot. The guy can take pressure off Maxey and Embiid. He could play in a high post, low post, doesn't matter. He's versatile. You can put him anywhere. Now, I don't think Danny Ainge is going to trade him, unfortunately. But Lauri Markkanen is the perfect fit for this Sixers team. I said it at the deadline. I'm saying it again now. Don't know if it's realistic, but that is the type of player I would take. And if not, I would look for a clone of Aaron Gordon, if there is one. Go in the draft, right? You don't have to make the sexy pick. Maybe trade back a few picks and just get an absolute dog in the draft. Enough of these guys that can defend and can't shoot. No. Get a big body. Get a guy who's going to come in day one and earn it and be hungry. For years and years, the Sixers have had a rebounding issue, and it never gets talked about enough because of all the drama in every other situation and every other aspect. They need an Aaron Gordon type, or they need a Lauri Markkanen type. That's my thoughts. $2 super chat. Astro World says, I'd rather have Brandon Ingram than PG-13. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about Brandon Ingram, and there was this report that came out from Evan Sidiri. Pelicans are not expected to offer Brandon Ingram a contract extension. Ingram is eligible to sign a 4-year max $208 million. New Orleans will be going in another direction. We saw in the play-in games where they didn't even play him in the fourth quarter. I don't know if Ingram's the answer as a max guy. I think he'd be a solid fit, but there have been times this season where Brandon Ingram just looks lost. Is it the fit in New Orleans? Is it the fit with that team? Maybe. But I don't know if this is the right move, man, for as much as Ingram is going to make. I don't want to go down this road of paying these guys max salaries, man. I'm tired of that. I want to just find 2 value contracts at like $15 million per year. Just guys that are going to be absolute menaces. Bring back Kelly Oubre and just make the best fit around this team. You need a spot-up shooter. Unfortunately, Buddy Hield was not that. But if he could be moving forward, Daryl Morey said that he could be the right fit based on what other pieces are here. Maybe you look at bringing Buddy back, depending on the price tag. Kelly Oubre, Batum. But you need young, hungry players, man. Guys that can build here. Guys that are not going to be turned over after one season and be gone. I would not go down the route of Brandon Ingram. And we'll talk about Paul George in a second. Mr. Roddy Poo, $5 super chat, says 2 routes, skilled wing, draft Tristan De Silva. If you want a big who can shoot and rebound, you will fall in love with Day'Ron Holmes. Yeah, a lot of names out there, a lot of guys to scout. It's always tough when it comes to the draft, especially when Daryl Morey just said that in your first year, you have no chance. That's not a good mindset. Ricky Council, he was saying, you know, you got to give us a reason that you can step up and play. Ricky did give you a reason that he can play. He's out there hustling every possession. He won that damn Spurs game. Gave you 19 and 10 against the Wizards. Ricky Council can play, man. But I do agree with Roddy that, you know, you got to find these skilled wings. You got to find these rebounders. Got to get these glue pieces. And when everybody talks about Paul George, you know, apparently he wants a max. Evan Sideri says the Clippers have made multiple contract offers to PG below the max, and he will not accept those. Los Angeles wants to keep George, but he appears heading towards unrestricted free agency. And, you know, his family's out in California. Would he really relocate across the country? I don't know. But it sounds like Daryl Morey's willing to go in there and pay him a lot of money. He said, we're not worried about age. We're worried about fit. And that worries me. Because if Paul George would come here on a 2-year contract with a second-year option, I'd be fine with that. You'd still have flexibility to get somebody else, and it probably wouldn't be as much. But, you know, giving Paul George a 4-year max, you're asking to end up in another Tobias Harris situation. You really are. Because nobody's going to take that guy at 37 years old making $45 million. It's not going to happen. So it's time to change the identity of this team. The good part is that you have a good young nucleus, or at least part of one, in Tyrese Maxey. But it's all about the fit. It's all about the fit. The Sixers never just have that like that oomph on their team. You know, the Knicks have that. The Knicks are going to suffocate you. If you're down, the Knicks are going to put their foot on you and just stomp on you. That's what the Sixers need, man. They couldn't rebound in that series. They had trouble defending on the perimeter. And they didn't have anybody that could just kick it into gear and get it done. $2 super chat from iShowKey says, re-sign Cameron Payne. Yeah, I like Cam Payne. I think he honestly played like a winning player. I don't know how many minutes he could play on a championship contender, but Cam Payne showed me a lot more than I expected to see. So it was interesting. Here was the list that I put out today. Just talking about some early offseason targets, trade scenarios. Jimmy Butler, Brandon Ingram, Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Kyle Kuzma. Not saying that these are the best fits and that they're going to happen. Just pieces I could see being moved and I could see the Sixers being interested in. Top free agents right now, not a lot of them, but Malik Monk I think should be at the top of the list for the 76ers. I think Gary Trent Jr., especially the connection with Nick Nurse, would be a huge piece. And Malik Beasley had a career shooting year in Milwaukee. All guys to keep your eyes on. And we'll see what happens with Oubre, Batum, and Buddy Hield. One more thing I want to show you. I just saw this while we were listening to the press conference. It was Pat Riley, who apparently had his exit presser. And he was asked if he would consider trading Jimmy Butler, and the answer was no. Pat Riley, no. Would not consider trading Jimmy. You never know. Can't take these at face value, but what I will say is that Jimmy Butler coming back with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, he's a little bit old and he's injury prone, you know? So while my heart tells me yes, my head's like, no, don't do that again. Don't do that again. Daryl Morey did not give me a lot of confidence in that press conference, but I guess I wasn't expecting too much. All I'll say, though, is that all the pressure is on, man. It is now or never. It is now or never. Jack City, $2 super chat. Congrats, RB, on being viral in Knicks Nation. That's right, man. RB, viral in Knicks Nation. Philly take forever. Let them know, baby. Let them know. $2 super chat. Andrew Zal says Paul George is too laid back for Philly. Yeah, and even watching that Clippers series, watching Paul George and James Harden. We knew that James Harden was going to disappear in games 5 and 6. I mean, we knew that. Sixer fans could have told you. James Harden fans have just kind of like us gone through the same thing every year, which is funny because now Harden, who knows if he's going to get that big contract extension he wanted, right? Clippers didn't do anything. First round exit. You think they're going to pay Harden a big time contract? No. Especially when he disappeared like that. But, Kawhi Leonard goes down, had the knee inflammation. And Paul George, man, if you watch that series, he just was not locked in. It looked like a Sixer playoff performance. Like, he has one game where he's playing great, and then the next game, he looked like he didn't even care. So you're right. Maybe he is not locked in enough for Philly. Maybe he's worried about Podcast P. And he's just chilling, making a lot of money, living the LA life. I don't know. But Paul George, man, he did not come through, man. He really did not when the Clippers needed him most. So I would not give that guy a max. I would not give him a max, to be honest with you. I would not. Look, man, you've never had a better opportunity to build out this team. I'm not saying that it's going to happen day one because, people think it's oh so easy to build out an entire roster, but you have Embiid, you have Maxey, and you have a bunch of flexibility now that you've never had. You're not going to build an entire roster in the next month, but there's no limitations. You want a guy, you go out and get him. I was reading an article where they said that there's going to be a lot more trades this summer too, given that there's new restraints on the CBA. So we could see a lot of big time trades as well. Guys, chill with the spamming in the chat, man. What about a Booker trade? If the Suns are willing to move on pieces, I think Daryl Morey will have his hands right in there. Kevin Durant, I could see Morey trading for KD. Let's be honest. Morey did inquire about Durant. He inquired about LeBron, all these guys at the deadline. What makes you think he's not going to do it again? I think he will. Sixers got to make some big time moves. They will. Daryl Morey said that, the team's not going to look nearly the same, which I agree with, but we didn't really get a lot of answers today. I guess we shouldn't have expected any. But I'll ask you guys this in the chat before we get out of here. Who is your number one target? If there's one player out there for this offseason that you're like, yeah, the Sixers have to land this guy, who is it? Who is it? Still got 500 people in the chat. Do me a favor as well, guys. If you have enjoyed this coverage, be sure to hit that like button. We will be live and dropping videos all off season before we get back into our games next season. Got a lot of big things on the way. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter. All the links are down below. Just support us, man. Support us if you want to see us grow. And appreciate everybody being here. Once again, shout out to BetUS as well, guys. Be sure to get your 125% bonus using BetUS. Link is down in the description. Let's see. LBJ, 2 years, perfect. Don't see LeBron leaving LA. Laurie is the perfect fit next to Embiid. Sadly, I don't think we'll ever see a perfect fit. I agree, man. Markkanen is the perfect guy, but I don't think Ainge will move on from him. And it's definitely dangerous doing business with Danny Ainge. Ader Navarro says Jimmy Butler. If he doesn't want to come, I like Brandon Ingram. Andre Drummond, we need trees in the forest. Brian says if they can get him, get Chris Paul. Nah, he's washed, man. I think he's done. Bridges? Which Bridges are we talking about? DeRozan will drop 20 with eyes closed. LeBron, Jimmy, or Markkanen. Bridges, Markkanen, and Caruso. Caruso could be another guy on the move. I think he's got 1 year left on the deal. So that could be an interesting one for sure. Zach LaVine, Bridges, PG-13. I don't know, man. I don't know. The hate on here is real. No lie. I just became a subscriber, but now I don't know the hate is real. I don't know who's hating, man. We're out here just talking, debating, discussing, and just giving our thoughts. I mean, Sixer fans are frustrated, man. If you're coming in here as a new Sixer fan or a new NBA fan, can't blame Sixer Nation for being frustrated when they want to have direction on their franchise, when they want to win, when they want to get past the second round. I feel like we say the same thing every year. And yeah, man, it's tough. I just saw this clip here. Hold up. Look at this. Jimmy Butler, obviously has said a lot of things, and he was saying about the Knicks or whatever, how he would have beat them. Pat Riley on Jimmy Butler. If you're not on the court playing, you should keep your mouth shut. Oh. Pat Riley with some strong words for Jimmy Butler. A little while ago, he said that he wouldn't consider trading him, but if Jimmy keeps on talking, maybe there are some character issues. Everybody's been talking the last few days about, maybe the Heat are done with Jimmy and they don't like his personality, whatever. Jimmy, you need to keep talking a little bit more. Force your way back to Philly. Crazy, man. Imagine that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be another saga this offseason. A lot of movement for sure. But I'm excited to see how it plays out. I am excited, man. Like I said, we'll keep on providing the updates, giving you all the news on where this team is at. This was a good first live show as we reacted live to Daryl Morey's exit presser. If you guys missed it, definitely go back and watch it on the Run It Back. But anyway, man, I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. We may be live later for a Knicks Pacers stream, but we'll see how it goes. A lot of moves to be made this offseason. A lot of decisions coming up. The question is, what will Daryl Morey do? Are they going to go for another big star? Are they going to go for more depth? It all lies in the balance, man. Sixers have never had this good of an opportunity, but they've never had this much pressure as well. So we will see how it plays out. But again, appreciate you all coming through, man. Philly Take with RB, presented by BetUS. Use our link, get a 125% bonus. It's RB, and it's Philly Take forever. Appreciate you guys so much, man. Keep on tapping in on the show. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.